And they can look at it like we've all looked at it. And one thing that's going to be interesting here is the new quarterback room there in Pittsburgh. But the thing I think we all laughed about, we just didn't understand in general, was how could the Pittsburgh Steelers be in the middle of May and not really have a real starting quarterback on their football team? All respect to Mason Rudolph, who's hung in there forever and has been a great backup, but he's not a starting quarterback. He's just not. He's really a mid-level backup if you really get into it and really like break down the numbers that way. And so that's what's crazy. I mean, it's Mason Rudolph who has carved out a niche for himself within the organization of the Pittsburgh Steelers where they trust him, but he's a below-average athlete. His arm is below average for NFL standards, right? He can play. He's got a little experience. He's tough as hell. He's big. That's what he brings to the table. Will Howard, what are they going to do with him? What's it going to be? Will Howard is a guy that, we know has played some big games and played for Ohio State and showed to be clutch in some big moments. But is there really starting quarterback type of talent there? And then you're hearing all the reports about Drew Aller. I mean, Penn State, there's a reason nobody can come out of there and play quarterback. Penn State is literally like, when I watch college football, I go, Drew Aller's offense was the worst freaking offense I've ever seen. I mean, it was like worse than high saying offense. The Steelers are literally setting right now, like, we're making him start back from scratch. He's been taught nothing. We're going to teach him how to play quarterback now. So what the hell were they going to do? And what the hell are they going to do with this room as they go forward? Are they going to keep 4 quarterbacks? Or I would think one of them has to go on the practice squad.
Yeah, apparently Drew Aller was told last week, forget everything you've ever known about playing
right.
quarterback, which is not the strongest possible endorsement for the coaches you've had your entire life.
Yeah.
Well, and I always believed this we love Will Howard thing. Mike McCarthy loves Will Howard thing. I always thought that was a little fugazi to provide them cover so that they could explore the incoming class of quarterbacks. I don't know what they would have done if Ty Simpson had been on the board at number 21. They took Drew Aller in round 3. And when
if you loved Will Howard like they say you do, I doubt you would draft Drew Aller or any quarterback that high.
Exactly.
Right? That's
exactly.
Yeah.
When they take Drew Aller in round 3, that's what told us that the we love Will Howard stuff was phony, baloney, fluff, and puff. And there have been comments made, and I want to be careful because I don't want to out any of my sources, but this was like right around the Super Bowl when I was casting the widest possible net to see what was out there that maybe could be included in the pregame show. And the comment was made that, he fell to round 6 because of Shedeur Sanders. That's why he fell to round 6. Because Shedeur Sanders created a logjam for all the other quarterbacks, and none of the other quarterbacks were going to get drafted until Shedeur Sanders was drafted. I mean, that felt manicured.
Totally.
That felt like, let's come up with a reason why Will Howard fell to round 6. And then at the league meetings, Mike McCarthy said, well, if I'd have been here, he wouldn't have been a 6th-round draft pick. That's for damn sure, or words to that effect. So that's all gone now that Drew Aller's there. And I think Will Howard's going to be the odd man out, unless somebody gets injured. You got 4 guys. You need 4 guys for now.
Yeah.
And go ahead. Give him an opportunity. Give Will Howard an opportunity. This is your chance. Mason, because look, the thing that helps Mason Rudolph is if Aaron Rodgers gets injured, who do you want to step in and play right away? If Aaron Rodgers gets a concussion check, if Aaron Rodgers does anything that keeps him out of the game, they need Mason Rudolph because he's the guy who can walk right in and play.
Exactly.
You're otherwise rolling the dice with guys who have never played before. So you need the veteran that can step in for Rodgers short term, and then you need the guy you're building for the long term, and that's Aller. Rudolph's the guy who plays in a pinch. Aller's the guy you're building for the future. Howard's the guy who's going to be cut or traded. Unless something happens that reshuffles that deck with an injury, it's going to be, I think, Rodgers, Rudolph, Aller, and Howard will be traded to someone for a flip-flop of 6- and 7-round picks or a conditional 7, or they're just going to have to cut him when we get to that moment that the rosters get slashed to 53 in late August.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely. And cut him, and then again, I wouldn't be shocked if he got brought back on the practice squad. I wouldn't be shocked if it was the other way around, right? Too, Mike. I would sit here and go, for all the things you just said about Drew Aller. Yeah, it's raw. That's why I couldn't get behind it. I like the kid. He's big. His arm is strong. But the throwing motion, the mechanics, the drops, the offenses he were in, it was all bad. So it's like, man, it's a reclamation project with Drew Aller. He could be so raw that they get through training camp and go, we can't make him the third either. And everybody will see in preseason and go, damn, he is raw. We don't want him. And he might go practice squad. He might be the practice squad guy where you have Will Howard there.
Here's the problem.
Yeah.
If you cut him, he's got to pass through waivers.
I know, right.
If he was a third-round pick, somebody's going to snatch him on waivers.
Right. Well,
right?
Well, this is what you got to take into account, too. He wasn't a third-round pick on a lot of teams' radars. I could tell you that much, all right? So the Steelers, as in that night of the draft, I think a lot of people were like, what? They're taking Drew Aller in the third round? I think that caught a lot of people in the NFL by surprise for all the reasons we were talking about. I mean, everybody saw that Drew Aller was raw as hell and hasn't been taught anything. So I think that caught people there. But you're right. I mean, more times than not, the third rounder, you can't get away with that. But I was just laying out an option of he's so raw. We see him in preseason. He plays in the games and he's 4 for 12 or 4 for 14. Nobody's going to be like, oh, let me sign him up. And as we know, there's this little unspoken rule right now, too, of like, don't take guys that are the quarterback that might get put on the practice squad. But either way, I was just giving a little bit of a scenario that maybe it could go the other way.
Yeah, those unwritten rules go off the board when you have an opportunity to get somebody for nothing that you would have used a fourth-round pick on.
I guess.
Or a fifth-round pick on.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. It would have been a fifth or sixth if it would have been up to me with Drew Aller. That's where I would have stood with that.
There's one other way to look at this.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of pride in that Steelers organization. A lot of pride. And most of it is deserved. If you watch their schedule release video, which C+, but if you watch their schedule release video, there's a shot of all the trophies.
Yeah.
All the trophies. 2 thumbs down. Let's talk about the Cardinals. Let's show the Cardinals schedule release video if you want to see F-. But I digress. There's a chance that pride will force them to keep 4 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I
can't rule that out.
Yeah, I agree.
We're approaching this from the perspective of a rational, analytical, objective assessment of your roster.
Yes.
You have 53 spots. Rarely does a team carry 4 quarterbacks because that extra spot is a guy that could be very helpful to you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I could see them twisting themselves into a mental pretzel to justify keeping 4 because the mere act of releasing Howard or Aller makes them look stupid.
Totally.
For, number one, drafting Howard and acting like he's the greatest, and drafting Aller. Exposing those guys to waivers, even if they're not claimed. Cutting those guys is an admission that they did something stupid.
You're right.
And maybe they'll keep all 4 to avoid having to admit that.
No, you're totally right. I was long-winded before, and that would have been the thing I would have said to button it all up, to go, really, the politics of the NFL would make you think that Will Howard is more of the guy. Because, yes, it would look horrible if your third-round pick, you're going to cut him and put him on the practice squad. It would. I mean, yeah, so that doesn't look good on them. And you're right, they've boxed themselves in a little bit with Will Howard. Now, they can justify that a little bit more because he's the 6th-round pick and everything we talked about there, but you're right. They've talked very highly about him, like he could be something. And it will look stupid if you're talking about, if I was here, I would have drafted him early, and I think he could be something, and then you cut him. Yeah, you're going to hear about that a little from people like you and me. But, I think you're exactly right about the looks of that, the optics of that are going to make this very challenging. And when we came in here to do the show, I was sitting there going, I don't know, maybe they will keep all 4. Maybe they will. And I think you stated it right for all those reasons right there. I think that makes sense as far as football world's concerned.
Now, we do live in an age where you're not bound to anything you've already said. You can say one thing today and do the exact opposite tomorrow. And certain people can get away with that. I still think the Steelers would be hesitant to do something that would allow people to reasonably and fairly question all the malarkey that they were stating about Will Howard. And it's kind of hard for them to come out and say, oh, that was all bullcrap. We were just saying that so we could get Drew Aller. Teams rarely like to admit to the world that they don't tell the truth about things. It makes people more suspicious going forward, just like the aftermath of the whole Rams Ty Simpson thing. And Ty Simpson was told not to tell anyone, and he comes out and says he was told to not tell anyone. Like, it creates a vibe where it makes sense and it becomes easier to scrutinize everything they say in the future. So there's a chance that they are going to keep all four, which is extremely, extremely rare. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.